This holiday week has been anything but festive for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The players, the coaches, the media, many of the fans out there. But I'm here to tell you why what many of the players, the coaches, my media colleagues, and the fans have been demanding, want, yelled for in terms of the result of the Baltimore Ravens, a staff member of the Baltimore Ravens causing a franchise to be littered with positive COVID cases, a game to be moved off of prime time, have things screwed up for multiple teams and the networks and the league itself, why you're all misguided and why an NFL team forfeiting a game, as many of you demanded to be the result and have been demanding should be the result, why that's just misguided and that just doesn't work and that's just not right and that just would not in any way be the best plan for the National Football League. I'm your host here, Mike Asti, and this is another edition of Mic Drop here on Pittsburgh Sports Live and, of course, SteelersNow.com. Make sure the bottom of this video you hit that subscribe button, you match that subscribe button and help us get our content to you. And again, wow, I see this all over the place. It's been all over social media. I'm getting personal texts from colleagues mad at me for not wanting this. And my personal life and week was affected and impacted by this game. I was geared up for Thursday night to be there at Heinz Field and covering it. Not the case. Was able to enjoy Thanksgiving, though, enjoy the meal and rest up, don't have to go anywhere. That was kind of a positive, but I wanted that game Thursday. I wanted to be off on Sunday. Then dealing with the uncertainty of the coverage of the week, it was annoying for me as well. Trust me. And again, the Baltimore Ravens, why I said this in the open, they are responsible as a franchise. Absolutely. A member of their staff acting a fool, going buck wild with the regulations and whatever you may think in terms of your political beliefs and what you want to do and the fact that you're an adult and we're all adults and any of those thoughts, that's not for this show. That's not for me to say right now. I put my opinions out there in the past, and I'm not even to say any of those opinions are wrong, even though we are in the midst of a global pandemic. What I am here to tell you is if you're a member of an NFL franchise, if you're around an NFL franchise and those players, you then need to follow the guidelines of the National Football League. You just flat out do. And a member of their staff did not. So it is the responsibility of the Ravens, the fact that they have those positive cases. The fact that now Lamar Jackson, their young quarterback, who has been their driving force, regardless of what you think about him. And again, he certainly has had his issues this season and in big games, but without him, they're sunk. And this staff member is directly responsible for Lamar Jackson getting COVID-19. This staff member, a member of the Baltimore Ravens, is responsible for the game being moved off Thanksgiving night, the uncertainty of the entire week, the issues for these teams moving forward. I get it. It's the Baltimore Ravens' responsibility. But that does not mean they should be forfeiting the game. That does not mean you should want them to forfeit the game. Because let me put it this way. This isn't me caring about the Ravens or wanting them to get a win or being an undercover Ravens fan. That's not the case. I'm not rooting for either one of these two teams. I threw that fan card away once I got credentialed. But the point of it is, an NFL team forfeiting a game affects more than just those two teams. And it seems like the players, the coaches, the fans, many of my colleagues are losing sight of that. If the Ravens forfeit a game, if any team forfeits a game, and even though they're responsible for what's gone on, the Ravens as a franchise are responsible, and I'm not saying don't punish them. Take draft picks away, find them, do what you wish, but do anything but have them forfeit a game. If an NFL team forfeits a game, it impacts more than that week. It moves into impacting the entire league. It could impact playoff implications for the entire league. Imagine if the Steelers end up winning the number one seed in home field advantage by one game over the Kansas City Chiefs. And that one win, one extra win than, say, the Chiefs have for a hypothetical, is off a forfeited game. How's that fair to the Chiefs? They didn't break any rules. They've not been involved in this mess this year. In fact, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, has been fined for going against the protocols in terms of the mask. The Chiefs, Andy Reid, they have not. Andy Reid wore a visor in the beginning of the season. It was ridiculous. It looked ridiculous. But they have not been fined. The Steelers have committed more infractions than the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs yet to be punished if the Steelers pick up a forfeited win because the Ravens did something. How would that be fair to everybody else? Imagine just in general if a team forfeits a game, and whether that would be the case this year or not, it changes course and has a team miss out on the playoffs because somebody else got a forfeited victory. You don't want to have a game forfeited and have it affect the entire league. The NFL doesn't want that because the NFL, no matter what they have threatened in the past, they know that it's going to put a black eye and a stain on this season of the NFL more than any other season during this pandemic, more than others certainly in recent memory, if not throughout history. The NBA got through it. They did a bubble. They crowned a champion. Maybe someone would put an asterisk negatively because of, say, the Clippers not being in it really and not having to go on the road, and etc. Someone add the asterisk because it was a tougher road and everything you had to deal with emotionally. Either way, they got through it. There's a champion crowned, but nobody forfeited games. They were played, no matter what you think of them. Same thing in the National Hockey League, usually baseball, even. Despite the controversy of the World Series and Justin Turner, they got through it. They played the games. No one's going to really say those teams did not actually win those games. If you have the Steelers getting a game won that they didn't actually play, even though they beat the Ravens earlier in the season, any team can win any given day of the week. They're all pros. The Ravens are very, very good. They certainly beat the Steelers in the past with a similar crew. They could win the next game. Many pointed to the Ravens game as the next hardest game on the schedule that could be that first loss. So just giving them the victory, even if they're responsible and they acted a fool and they're the idiots that deserve any other punishment out there that is administered to them, and any of those players mad about draft picks or money or any of that, then be upset about that strength coach who should be fired probably, and I hate calling for someone's job, but he has messed things up. But a forfeited win is not something you want because it would stain the season. It would stain the team. And again, this is the worst case scenario. This isn't just a good Steelers team. This is a Steelers team that, as I'm speaking to you, is sitting undefeated, is sitting at 10-0, is sitting at undefeated, headed into maybe this game against the Baltimore Ravens. And you don't want the Pittsburgh Steelers to go through an undefeated regular season, then win a championship and have the first ever undefeated season at 19-0, because we know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't play as many games the Miami Dolphins. Buccaneers had the winless season. The Miami Dolphins didn't play as many games when they went undefeated through an entire season and won the Super Bowl. And even the New England Patriots, they went through the regular season undefeated, 16-0, then lost the Super Bowl. For me, it's the greatest team of all time due to dominating everybody else and losing a close game. But we'll leave that for another day. If the Steelers go undefeated all the way through and are the first team 19-0, or even if they just go 16-0, tie the Patriots, and then go ahead and somehow lose in the playoffs like New England did, you don't want either one of those. You don't want an undefeated special historic season that will already be part of debate because of the fact that these have been a lot closer games. The Steelers haven't been dominating. They haven't been similar to the 07 Patriots in that way. Many will still say the Patriots are the better historic team despite not having the ring. Many will do that, whether that's fair or not. But regardless, you don't want to have one of those wins be off of a forfeit. Having a win off of a forfeit forever, even in the midst of an undefeated season, even if it's after an undefeated season, will have people forever saying, yeah, one of the best teams of all time. It's a championship season. You're the champs. Okay, you did it in the playoffs. Great. But you can't really say you're the first 19-0 team in NFL history. You can't really say that you're the second undefeated team to win a championship and the first with the amount of games played that we have now. You can't really say you tied the Patriots in 07 with 16-0 in the regular season because one of your wins was off a forfeit. The other teams didn't have that. You can say what you want about the schedule and etc. The Miami Dolphins schedule is well overrated for that time. It certainly was not that tough. Nonetheless, they won the games. They played them. They won them. Can't take that away. They pop champagne for a reason, and they've been popping it for decades upon decades since. The Steelers ring will look the same. We'll have maybe a Zoom parade if the pandemic's still going on then. Definitely. not one in person, I wouldn't imagine. But regardless, you don't want a forfeited win to be a part of that. You, the players, the coaches, my colleagues who are covering this, the fans, you don't want a special undefeated season to be stained with a forfeited victory. I don't care who it's against. I don't care that you already beat them once. Again, there's nothing guaranteed that you would beat them the second time. It's very hard to split against a team that's a playoff team, even though they've been struggling heading into the game. So you don't want the forfeited win because of the future debates and the stain and the asterisk that'll be put on your special season if it would end up being an undefeated season. And that's the case right now as we sit. Not only that, but again, I already touched on that it would affect the entire season. It wouldn't be fair. It would be more of a stained season for the NFL during this pandemic than the other leagues have had. And the NFL has had to change course the least headed into the season. They've had to move games and postpone games and have had positive cases now because they haven't bubbled. And I've said this in the past too, they can't bubble. It'd be way more difficult to bubble the NFL than, say, other leagues. However, there's more moving parts. However, they didn't have to move their draft. They didn't have to move most of the offseason, even though training camp was certainly disrupted, and I'm covering it from my studio basement instead of being there at St. Vincent College. There were differences. There were challenges for sure, but it wasn't as catastrophic of the bubble environment of the other leagues. Maybe that's why it's been more difficult for the NFL now, certainly going to flu season, all of that. I get it. I don't think they could have bubbled though, so I don't think that all argument that they should have bubbled is sound. But nonetheless, the NFL they didn't want to move off their schedule more than anyone else. They know that they can dominate the news. They know they can kind of do what they want. They know that you're going to watch no matter what they do. That's been proven. People have watched through DUIs. People have watched through scandal. People have watched through domestic violence. People have watched through the national anthem controversy. People just watch even when the president is telling you not to. There's enough watching, even if some dip off. So I get the NFL. I get they don't want that. They said that earlier as a threat, and someone on the Ravens didn't listen. Maybe they'll come down with the hammer. I'm here to tell you why, though, an NFL team forfeiting, it would just suck. It wouldn't be good for the league. It wouldn't be good for the NFL. It would be staining an entire year. It would be a black eye for them, more than the other leagues would have. You wouldn't even want your Steelers to have a win off a forfeit. And then separate from all of that here, as I round the bases on this show, the Pittsburgh Steelers players who are the ones yelling for this forfeit, or at least it appears that way. They certainly were very, very upset when the news of the game being moved off Thanksgiving was put out there. And I get the anger in a way. They've had their season disrupted multiple times. But again, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. It's not been their fault. It was Tennessee's fault. It's the Ravens' fault. They end up postponing the Titan game. They beat them on the field anyway. One of their lucky wins of the season. And they've had lucky wins in the midst of being a really, really good team. Certainly getting better now. They've hit their peak kind of now in recent weeks. But they've had games that otherwise they maybe would have lost in past years. I've touched on that on past shows here on Pittsburgh Sports Live and, of course, SteelersNow.com, whether it be the mic drop or the post-game shows. But number one, and this was the Adam Schefter mic drop of the week right here, if an NFL team forfeits a game, the policy says by the National Football League, neither team gets paid. So NFL players, and maybe the Rooneys will just shower the money because they're a great family. Art Rooney II is a great guy, and they're planning on paying it anyway. So maybe they'll do that. So if that occurs, disregard this little tidbit here. Maybe the Rooney family will do that. I would not be shocked. But as we stand, they don't have to. The protocol would say neither team would get paid because neither team's doing the work. Neither team is practicing as much. Tomlin, unlike the Titans, the initial Titans week, he's now a shutdown practice as I stand. So they practiced one day basically this week. It would actually, in a weird way, kind of return the bye. The players have been so mad about losing against Tennessee. They had that 3-day bye, really. It's way earlier in the season, even though it's happened to teams in the past, but it wasn't a full week. This week was going to be a short week, but then next week was going to be a really long week. That was going to be a kind of a de facto bye. But if they don't play at all this week, of course, then this entire week becomes that bye with only 1 day of on-field practice. So it's kind of as much as you can ask for here during this total pandemic season. But neither team would get paid. So I would love to see that if the players don't get paid, if there's a forfeit, are the players going to be happy with a forfeited win that'll be stained forever They'll be in debates forever. They'll never fully get credit for their accomplishment if they would end up having an undefeated season. Even the seeding situation, it will stain the year. The Chiefs players will have rights to say it's not fair to them if they end up one game out for the seeding situation. And separate from all of that, will the players care about getting that, dealing with all of that, and then not getting their money? Because we know, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, these players want their cash. They want the money they deserved. They want what they've earned in those contracts. So how will the players feel if they don't get paid because of what the strength coach did and what happened with the Baltimore Ravens? That'll really beef up the rivalry, I'd certainly imagine. They certainly will hate that guy and want his name out there, as Joe Hayden said. But do you still want the forfeited win and your bye if it means not getting paid? I'd imagine not. Money is certainly number one priority for most of the players. I'm not, again, saying it shouldn't be. Maybe the Rooneys will pay them. But if they don't, will that make you upset at your owner who just didn't do it because he went along with the rules? That just doesn't sound like a good thing, good news for the Steelers players. So think about that. Do you want the money situation to be involved in and not get paid if the game's not played at all and you just get a forfeited victory and it's not postponed? Or would you rather it jammed in later in the season if it can't be played this Sunday? Then you'll get paid. Then you'll play them. Then you'll probably go ahead and beat them. Then you don't have to deal with all the drama. And even if you lose to them, you might still end up with the number one seed because the Chiefs have already lost the game and you'll simply just be tied with them. I don't think anyone thought an undefeated season was happening before the season. Still a really, really good Steelers team who certainly is in line for a deep playoff run, you would imagine. So, again, I get it. This week has sucked. I get the holiday wasn't as festive. I get all of your plans have been thrown in the garbage can. I get the Steelers players being so mad because their season, their games, everything has been so messed with, and they feel like they've been following protocol. And I know the Steelers staff, the PR staff, the communication department, they are following protocol. I go pick up a press pass sometimes late at night. I'm having it left with a security guard. I can't actually even get in there. I'm driving through. He's having to buzz me. I'm sitting in my car with a mask on while he comes and gives me this press pass. It's that tight-knit, okay? We're getting things emailed. We weren't able to be at training camp, not even able to go to the facility, doing press conferences off Zoom. There's challenges for everybody. No fans going to be at the stadium now. I get it. Harder to get credential. Harder for us to get anyone else to have other outlets. Photogs are having a tougher time. My guy Ed Thompson having a tougher time because they're so tighter with photog credentials. So I get it. It sucked. And it's been sucking, and it's going to keep on sucking, really. And this week wasn't handled well by the NFL. The NFL before the season, I did this on a past show. You can go listen there for the whole thing. They should have had a week 18 in place and just bumped everything back, or just have not 2 weeks before the Super Bowl and only have one. That was what happened for years and years and years. That would be fine if you don't want to move everything around for the TV or just want to get the season over with in some point in early February. Then go ahead and do the week 8 for all the postponed games there. Worst case, that'd be one less week of being off for teams with buys or before the Super Bowl, etc. That would be better than this. It wouldn't disrupt the regular season in that progression. I get it. That would have been a better plan. That's probably not a plan that can occur right now, and it should have already been in place before the season. The NFL has not handled this perfectly. Granted, it's a major challenge. It's very, very difficult, and honestly, I don't think they've handled it that crazy bad overall. You got to give Roger Goodell and the NFL some doubt for how things have been handled. And I get it. The Ravens are at fault. Somebody with them, they're at fault of the franchise. Punish them however you want with draft picks and money. Do whatever you want. But a forfeited win doesn't help anybody, even the team getting the W. It hurts the perception. It hurts everything. It impacts everyone more than just that game. Nobody out there, despite being frustrated, bitter, understanding the challenges, and I get the animosity, no one should want an NFL game to be forfeited, and the NFL doesn't want that either. Again, here I was Mike Asti. I am Mike Asti here, and this was another dropping of the mic as I drop the mic for you. Kind of look like a football spike, as well as just, imagine the mic falling out of my hand here, I guess. I'm not going to probably edit and throw in any graphics for that. But episode of Mic Drop here on Pittsburgh Sports Live, and of course, Steelers Now. Make sure to hit us up throughout the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of networks. Pittsburgh Sports Now, of course, Steelers Now, WV Sports Now, Pittsburgh Soccer Now, Golf Now, Pittsburgh Hockey Now. It's all out there. Racing Now. We're all over the place. We are now there for you throughout the family of networks, or wherever you want your coverage for any of our regional action. Nittany Sports Now, too. I can't forget that with my guy, Corey. Follow us on Twitter at PGH Sports Live and at PGH Steelers Now, as well as on Facebook for Steelers Now and Pittsburgh Sports Live. Of course, pghsportslive.com, where a lot of these videos do live. I can, get them up there to kind of just an archive for the content. But, of course, SteelersNow.com, where our main Steelers coverage is. So, again, I get it. I really, 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 really do get it. It sucked for me as well. I wanted this game Thursday more than anything else. I wanted that weekend off. I wanted the plan. Even if I get the whole week off, I was down for it on Thursday on Thanksgiving night. Wouldn't have disrupted my meal. It was a night game. It was home, too. Didn't have to go anywhere. But a forfeited game, a forfeited win, it's not really good for anybody, not something you should want, and it would stain the entire season, the perception of this year. It is doomsday for the NFL no matter how much they've threatened it, and it wouldn't even really be a benefit for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and quite frankly, it would be unfair to everybody else.